So Lovie Smith continues to be the best Bears head coach
Wait,
in a long time.
Is that the guy that used to be the head coach for Houston just got fired yesterday?
Yeah, that Lovie Smith,
okay,
who got fired after winning the game yesterday against the Indianapolis Colts, because that combined with the Chicago Bears loss to the Minnesota Vikings means the Bears are going to be picking number 1 overall in the upcoming draft. And I'm still trying to figure out how Indianapolis lost that game.
On that final series, they gave up a 4th and 12 for a big game to put Houston in position to eventually throw on a 4th and 20, a Hail Mary that was incredibly misjudged by the Colts defender, only to eventually have the drama play out of Lovie Smith then deciding at that moment to go for it instead of playing for overtime, kicking the PAT, retaining that number 1 overall pick. You think he knew he was getting canned before the game?
Well, I also
100%.
Yeah, probably. I would ask you this 100%. Though: had they lost, is he still getting fired? Because I don't know, man. Like, because what they're doing,
way, he's getting fired.
Cal McNair, after they took the lead, they showed him walking on the sideline, and he looked
pumped up, didn't he?
Well, he was pissed because he realized, oh my God, that was our opportunity to have the number 1 pick, and now we fall a spot behind. And the Bears probably aren't taking a quarterback, so all these other teams behind Houston is like, okay, now that's an option for us.
Do you know who probably needs a quarterback?
Who's that?
The Colts or the Houston staring at in the division that can now move from
Texans.
number 4 to number 1 with the Bears and have their pick of this year's quarterback.
It's just that was one of the more incredible sequences of plays just to see how that all came together. And then, look, Sam Ehlinger, does whatever he can try and figure out to do when they get the ball back, and they end up losing that game. But we're talking like that moment right there. If Bryce Young is as legit as everybody says he is, and I mean, come on. Brady Quinn, who called his shot watching an Alabama spring game a couple years ago, said he's going to win the Heisman. Bet your ass. And ended up paying out 10-1. So you're welcome on behalf of the law offices of Brady Quinn. But when you see Bryce Young play the way he played, finish his college career, and everyone says, all right, that's the number 1 pick, or C.J. Stroud. And then because of what happened, it's just gone. because Davis Mills and Lovie Smith said, our jobs aren't certain here. Like, Davis Mills is supposed to go out.
So you're saying it was a parting gift, Jonas?
Well, yeah, like Davis Mills is supposed to go out and crap himself just so they can draft the guy to replace him?
Yeah.
Like, it's like that literally could have changed the course of the future. Who's that?
You know who will take the blame forever for Houston Texans? Jeff Saturday.
Yeah, there's that too. Look, I thought Jeff Saturday.
Talk about an experiment that gone bad. We talked about the milk going bad in the last.
Hold
segment.
on, LaVar. You were rooting for him for a period of time.
I don't recall that. I didn't even.
I recall that. I specifically recall that. So I'm going to go ahead and let you speak your piece here now, because for a while there you were co-signing that, and you were all about it.
I just don't understand why Jim Irsay would have bought a guy with no type of experience off of the television set to come in there and coach a team and think that they were going to win. I just don't understand it. Now, for what it's worth, it could be a former player, but it could have been a former player that it was a coach, had years as an NFL coach, even a college coach, but none at all. Jim Irsay. Maybe I'll call you Jeff now because you made that decision.
Jim Saturday, Jeff Irsay. Yeah.
There makes no real sensible type of sense that he would make a decision like that. I am miffed. I am blown away. I'm perplexed. Yep. I have no idea why he would do that. And now look at what you did. That lack of coaching allowed for the Texans to win that game and jack up their draft status to get a number 1 pick. There it is.
Yeah, but
There's
you know what?
Happened.
I mean, now Indianapolis is sitting at 4. I mean, they call the Bears and say, all right, I mean, we've had Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, and you guys had Deshaun Watson, and he turned out to be a weirdo and then didn't want to play there anymore. And so now they call the Bears and maybe make a deal, and all of a sudden Indianapolis jumps over Houston to get Bryce Young and have the quarterback of their future. Like, it's just to see how that all transpired. And then there was video of Bears fans watching the final of that game at Soldier Field and celebrating because they've got the number 1 pick. Never mind the fact that, remember that Monday night game in which the Bears beat the New England Patriots? And we were like, man, that was an impressive win. And that was the last win of the season for the Bears. They are atrocious, but they've got the number 1 pick. And so Chicago's celebrating.
Yeah, my bad. I thought I read somewhere earlier in the week the Vikings were going to sit their starters, which I still don't understand the philosophy of playing your starters for like a half or 3/4 of the game if you really don't have much to gain, because that's what the Vikings
got to get them
did.
ready, Brady. I mean,
Right.
at this point in the season, they need more reps.
I can't wait. By the way, did we say that with the number 4 game, the preseason, right, when we had one? Was that what we used to say? It's like, oh, yeah, the starters need reps for week 1. That's why we play these guys for half of football. I mean,
That's what you got to do. You got to
imagine those guys.
Dallas didn't play their starters.
Yeah, by the way, that was another one. What a butt kicking. I mean, my goodness. But there were a number of teams, right? Dallas fell into that category. Obviously the Vikings did, which, in the end really didn't matter. But I don't get it. Like, what's the philosophy there? If you had a starter get hurt, and we did have the Chargers.
Yep.
Chargers are a prime example. Mike Williams was taken off the field hurt. Well, he can't play next week. Like, and granted, he's a wide receiver. It's not the same as Justin Herbert. But I think that's one of the dumbest decisions you can make as a head coach going into playoffs, is putting a starter in harm's way and not even doing it for the entirety of the game. If you're going to do it then. Make sure you send your guys in that and make sure they go get a win. But then, like, to pull them out, I mean, what was the point of it? Just to keep them fresh, keep them in game mode? Give me a break.
You just got to get ready, man. I mean, you got listen. You got to keep them ready to go. All right. Now, who cares if they've been playing football for 3 months straight? Got to keep them ready, and got to keep them ready for the postseason. That's the only way they're going to get ready for this.
Like,
this
if you
game.
really think that you need to stay in a rhythm, and you need to do that in order to be ready for a playoff game, don't you have bigger issues? Like, doesn't that team have bigger issues? If that's your concern,
that is a big question. That is a big question. I mean, I just think that everybody who played their starters yesterday, I really do think it comes down to not losing any type of momentum or creating momentum. I think it's a risk. I think at least that's how the coaches are thinking, that they're taking a risk.
Imagine being the Chargers, though. Like, they battle with injuries all year.
Yep.
They've been a snake-bitten team for the past few years,
That's
4 or
a good
5
point.
years.
For years.
That's the one franchise that you go, you know what? Let's go ahead and
let's just go ahead and wrap these guys with bubble wrap so they make sure they get there. Like, drive safely with the bomb cyclone we've been dealing with in Southern California.
Man.
Get to the stadium safe.
So what do the Texans do now? Because now they're one and done with 2 coaches. Obviously, there's a storyline there that people are pointing out that Lovie Smith and David Culley have something in common. Both
racist.
one and done. Listen, I didn't say it. What do you mean? I didn't say it.
You were on point right there, Berto. I didn't even have. Q was right there with it. We were all on point. I didn't even have to say anything.
I just, I mean,
what exactly is that they have in common?
Hey, LaVar.
Racist.
And LaVar, in all seriousness, can I ask you this?
They both like football.
No,
okay.
Hey, can I ask you this?
I'm going to.
Is it worse, LaVar, to give both David Culley and Lovie Smith the opportunity, but just a year and fire them? We're now, like, it felt like David Culley never really had a legitimate chance.
No. He didn't have a real chance.
And now you look at Lovie Smith and you go, that team, say what you want about Houston, about how many wins they had, whatever else.
They fought.
They fought their butts off the entire season. They were one of the more competitive teams.
They fought their ass off.
They fought their asses off. They fought their asses off. So you tell me, is it worse that they got the opportunity, but it wasn't even a legit shot because they only got a year and then they get canned? Or would you have said, like, they should just went with someone else in the first place?
Oh, that's a great one. That is a great question, Q. And I'm not sure I have the right. I would say they got the opportunity, even though they were in a losing opportunity. They weren't in a great situation to have success, especially Cully. I mean, that just was, that was a debacle with the whole, Watson deal. But with Lovie, I mean, they at least had a whole entire offseason to prepare. You put together your strategy and your plan, and you got to execute. It's hard for Lovie because he's gotten results as a head coach. For Cully, that was his first go at it. I think for them, you could go either way with it. You could say they were set up to not have success, and that it was going to be too quick, that they lose their job. Or you could have said that, you know what, how much time do they get? Because that Texans team, they seem like, fighting or not, they seem like they're about 3-4 years off from being competitive, let alone like being like winners or being back to winning their division. I think they're like 4 or 5 years off.
Remember when
even being there?
Remember when Bill O'Brien wasn't good enough to be their coach? Man, that seems like a long time ago.
He yelled at people.
Yeah.
He was really hard on people.
He got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. That's. I mean, come on.
I mean,
how you get rid of DeAndre Hopkins?
Like, it's not like he released him. I mean, they did get something in return. It's just everyone wanted to do the comparison thing and say, well, look what Stephon Diggs got traded, and look what Minnesota got in return. I mean,
but they weren't good after that.
Yeah, but that also, I think the quarterback situation played a role in that, right? I mean,
they had a weirdo at quarterback. I mean, the guy was a weirdo. He signed a contract extension. He signed a contract, and
Linus was good.
And then a couple months later decided, I don't want to be here anymore. After he signed the contract, and everyone tried to blame it. Everyone tried to blame it on, well, they traded away DeAndre Hopkins. What do you expect? Dude, he signed the contract after they traded him. Like, I don't want to hear that crap. So it's like Bill O'Brien wasn't put in a good spot. A lot of people said they got rid of DeAndre Hopkins so that Deshaun Watson could have full leadership of the locker room and the offense. That's what was some of the speculation. Yeah.
Well so, whether that was the case or not, I think you look at Arizona this year, and obviously he wasn't there for the first 6 because of PED violation. And then down the stretch, I mean, it was odd that the Friday that Colt McCoy ends up having concussion symptoms a couple weeks ago, and David Blau, who just got to the team, was announced as a starter. Shockingly, DeAndre Hopkins started having some injury issues.
Can you believe that?
He just couldn't play the past couple of games.
Listen, it's just
that's soft tissue.
I mean, that's soft.
That's soft toilet tissue.
Tissue.
That's gentle on you. The tissue.
But it is. So that is the situation at the very bottom of the NFL, in which the Houston Texans thought they were going to find themselves, only to see that the Chicago Bears are now picking 1 in the draft, and now you got Indianapolis at 4. So now there's probably going to be a battle to see who wants to trade up. Can I just throw a scenario at you guys? If you're Houston, you can't risk Indy jumping you for the quarterback that you of your choosing there. If you believe that Bryce Young's your guy, do you call Chicago, much like the Bears did years ago when they moved up to take Trubisky? Do you trade away the number 2 pick to move up to 1, and then also give them the pick you got from Cleveland this year, maybe the one you got next year, which is sitting at number 12 right now? Because you can't let Indianapolis in your division again grab one of the top quarterbacks in the draft and then set your franchise back even more.
That's what makes this so fascinating, is the way that game played out. It was so much bigger than just winning and losing a Week 18 game. Yeah. It literally had everything to do about the future of both the franchises. And Lovie Smith, squarely, not only helped out the Bears in the sense of what they can get in return for that number 1 overall pick now, but even then, just looking at kind of where those franchises are at, like Houston's in a really, really difficult spot.
Yeah, they are.
He gives up the number 1 pick, but then also on top of that, they're gonna have to give up some picks to get it back.
Yes.
I mean, just the way that all was orchestrated by Lovie Smith. Just the big middle finger on the way out to Cal McNair.
Oh, my God. And the best beard in all the NFL, Lovie Smith. Good for him.